Colin, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Good,
That intro was really bad, but it's good. It's good to be here with you today.
Like bad in a good way, or
No,
just really bad?
no, bad in a bad way.
Like how so? How could I improve
It's
it?
just it's too much. Like, think less Sopranos, more Mad Men. Get in and get out. The little sting,
That's fair. That's fair.
But to each their own. I didn't know like when it was. I wanted to be here early just in case I was expected. You told me a quarter after.
Yeah.
But I sat through a lot of that, and
it's good shit. Huh?
It was a thing that happened. Yeah,
it's definitely a thing. Well, very, very nice of you to join. And I know we are kind of standing on, I guess you could say, two sides of a coin. But before we even dive into our perspectives, why don't you? I'm sure most people already know who you are. Your reputation precedes you. But why don't you tell people who you are, where they can find you, and what your history is and stuff like that, where you're coming from.
Okay. Thank you for having me. My name is Colin Moriarty. I am the host of a PlayStation podcast called Sacred Symbols that I've been doing for a long time. I've basically been the co-host or host of the three biggest PlayStation podcasts over time. So Podcast Beyond, which still exists, that I left in 2015, and then PS I Love You, which is defunct now, and then Sacred Symbols. I run a popular Patreon called Last Stand Media. We do a podcast network, and I've been in the games industry professionally for 23 years, I guess now, since I was in college. So, yeah. And I really just wanted to be on because I'm so, I'm confused and befuddled by your lack of faith in the Circana numbers. And I'm wondering if you truly understand what they are.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's kind of like, you quote tweeted me. That's how I saw all of this to begin with. I just said the kind of anodyne thing about Ghost of Yōtei that I really like it. I'm not a big fan of Ghost of Tsushima, so I think it's a big step up from the original game. It's the 18th best-selling game in the United States already, after 3 days counted. And I just, I feel like you and a lot of other people are spreading this somewhat misinformation about what Circana is comparable to VG charts or Alinea or these other places that are actual data houses, as opposed to a company, a 50-year-old company that has direct access to the numbers. So and I feel like you're kind of obfuscating that with your audience, but it's like we can be on two separate sides, but what I'm saying is 100% true. So that's why I wanted to see how you responded to that, and I'll leave it there.
Oh yeah, sure. I think that's actually a good intro to this. So when it comes to Circana, what specific numbers are you referencing for Ghost of Yōtei?
The Circana data is the 20 highest grossing. It's actually by dollar sales level of retail plus digital games sold in the United States, as accessed by Circana's retail constellation, plus their direct access to the storefronts. Famously,
and are they? But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I thought you were done. Sorry. Continue.
I was just going to say, so famously, Circana actually has incomplete data when it comes to, say, Nintendo. Right. Nintendo doesn't share their digital sales, but they can't hide their retail sales because Circana gets that from the retailers themselves. So Nintendo can't do anything about it. On the other hand, Ubisoft recently pulled out of Circana, so their numbers don't appear anymore at all.
Okay.
So the reason why I think this argument about Yotei is strange is it's not if it's doing well or it's not. I don't think it's selling as well as Tsushima did. I think that there's probably a few reasons for that are notable and interesting. But it's certainly doing well. 18th in the United States after 3 days on one console is objectively impressive. It's not January or February. We're talking about August numbers. So now we have a stack of games from Monster Hunter Wild and all the EA sports games to other things.
Let me actually ask you about that, because I was thinking about that before the stream. 18th after 3 days, I guess on the surface does sound pretty impressive. But then if you take a step back and consider it's a AAA title, and how many AAA titles launch every year? And we're now towards the end of the year. So there's been a lot of time that's passed. Would you say 20, 30 AAA titles a year come out or so?
Yeah, I think it probably depends on how you even define that number. It's probably more than that, actually. Like if you consider games that will never chart but are pretty good, and certainly AAA, like a Chronos or a Hell Is Us or something like that, you could probably get to something more like 50. But even if you wanted to call those AA games or whatever, the point is that the numbers are, or the charts are organized by dollar sales, and they know the numbers, and people with Circana access can see the numbers, but they don't share them because that's the product that they're selling. We have to remember that.
I don't really. I want to take you to task on that. I don't buy that.
But it's true. I've seen the numbers. I had a
I think
subscription
we
to it.
disagree on that point right there. I don't think it's the product they're selling. I think it's their withholding to maintain good graces with these companies, because otherwise the companies are not going to continue to provide them the numbers if they don't make them look as good as possible. Would you agree with that?
No, because when you, and I can understand why people might think that, but the real value in the data. So think about like the number or the charts that they send out every month as like the hors d'oeuvre. And it's like, if you want more than that, that's sit at the table. It costs thousands of dollars to join Circana. As I said to you on Twitter, and I can expand on it, is like when I was at IGN many years ago and was still NPD group, we had a Circana. It was an NPD subscription at the time. It cost 6 figures, and you're contractually obligated to not share the numbers. In fact, they would be so protective about the numbers that they would often give different people different numbers to try to track leaks.
Now, why is that?
My assumption, I don't really know. My assumption is that it's probably something to do with like, if we have everyone buying in and sharing numbers and being honest and equitable, then we should probably universally protect the numbers from being publicly exposed, because it's really a part of a data set that can be, as it is happening now, I think with Yotei, somewhat misrepresented. I think it's a big reason why Ubisoft left Circana is because Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws were widely attacked for their sales figures, but Assassin's Creed Shadows, so in July was the last month that Assassin's Creed Shadows would have been posted on Circana. And at that point, it was the 3rd best-selling game in the United States for the year. So I just think that, like, you can feel how you want about Yotei, about it being woke, about people not liking it, about the actress, about Sucker Punch, all those kinds of things. But Circana data is the gold standard of data. It's the only really reliable data we have. And you have to obviously garner other things about it because it's the United States only. But the US is the biggest core gaming market in the world. If you assume certain things about the data is true, for instance, Western Europe reflecting, or Latin America reflecting these numbers, but in lesser numbers, you can kind of start putting a picture together. That's why I'm a little surprised why people aren't super, like, I think it's a fun puzzle.
You're saying it's the gold standard, and I'm surprised that people aren't just going along with it. And I would push back saying, because there is, and I think you'd agree with this, there's a lot of trust me, bro, with it. Like, it's not hard numbers. It's hard
numbers if you have access to the data. That's what I'm telling you. Like, when I accessed the subscription, it was hard numbers.
But because they don't give the full transparency to those numbers, it leaves room to be able to psychologically manipulate how people should feel about something. Is that fair to say?
I mean, maybe you can look at it like that, but I really think, I don't know how long you've been tracking like NPD numbers. The NPD numbers go all the way back to the mid 90s. So, and
I mean, I'm not new to this world either.
No, I'm not saying
I
you are.
Used to work at Sony. I've been in the game industry myself. I'm not some random dude that just turned on a camera one day. So this is not new to me either. And that's not trying to big time.
Wait, did you say you worked at Sony?
Sony Online Entertainment.
Oh, okay, cool. So you don't know that I would imagine SOE was incredibly attracted to the NPD numbers at the time, knowing that they were contributing to them.
Not necessarily. It was more MMORPG, longevity stuff. They didn't really care about that when I was there, at least. Not that I noticed.
It's surprising that I don't know. I've never really heard of people working in the industry and not understanding that, like, these are like probably the only data set we really get that can be super reliable, as opposed to like VG charts. I don't know how they do it now, but I remember back in the day, a lot of it was like they would call random stores and have like basically a data set that they would put the numbers into and try to garner the numbers and then correct them later. Alinea does a very similar thing. They have like kind of a bespoke data system where they try to garner the numbers and then they make backwards corrections. But the only thing I'm trying to say is that this particular data, you don't see the transparent numbers if you don't subscribe. At least I don't know how it is anymore, but this is the way it was when I used to read the numbers. You would get literal Excel spreadsheets that were many thousands of cells long. And what I was saying on my show recently was like, we would at IGN often scroll to the bottom because random shit would get ingested. Like a random 32X game was dug up behind someone's, in the back room of an EB and they sold it, or like a Dreamcast game.
Right.
And so like every little thing would be tracked.
Yep.
And what's funny is that I think you might have had a point about the unreliability of Circana data or NPD data as it was back in the day, maybe 5 or 10 years ago. But as of 2023, when they started ingesting the digital data directly from the storefronts, their numbers became extremely accurate. They're probably more accurate than they've ever been since the retail only era.
I'm not questioning how they're accurate with their numbers. I want to be very clear about that. I'm saying that they're not divulging the numbers to us, which allows for a lot of variables to enter the picture, which I think you'd agree with that, right?
Yeah, I think if you interpret them not understanding where the numbers come from, then I think that's accurate.
I mean,
but
I
again, they're
understand
not
where the
going to give away the milk for free. They're not going to like give their. It's an expensive product. They invest a lot of money into it.
That, but I feel like you're running defense for how it operates. Which, okay, that's fair. I'm not saying I'm right, you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm asking for transparency, and it seems like you're protecting how the operation works. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would love a system where we had a transparent, like actually Japan's a great example, although it's retail only. Europe, the same thing, like a retail only.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I was just going to take this. Before the stream, I brought this chart up. This is the first 2 weeks that we have of actual tangible data that is fully transparent. This is not Circana. This is Japanese launch sales, Famitsu, which physical. And this tells me that Japan is being very transparent. And it shows me a picture of, at least when it comes to physical, Ghost of Tsushima blew this out of the water. And that was during the pandemic where people weren't really leaving their houses. You would have thought digital would have blown up at that point, not physical.
Yeah, maybe not in that era. I mean, it wasn't until a few quarters ago that they really started selling an impressive amount of numbers in retail units physically anywhere in the world. The reason that the Famitsu numbers have always been interesting, but the reason that they're not very valuable is the same reason why the Circana data wasn't valuable in, say, 2017, because it doesn't, or 2020, because it doesn't include the digital data. That's why people stopped citing it for a long time. They were in a lot of trouble, and then they actually figured it out. So now they have access to Steam, to PSN, Xbox Live. And as I said earlier, Nintendo's the only holdout. So we just have the only thing we know about the Circana data in terms of the order it's presented is that the Nintendo numbers would always be stronger. That's it.
Right. Which again, that kind of goes to my point of it. The information that we get from Circana is not necessarily accurate when you start giving places for what games sold where, if you're missing data from a segment of games.
Yeah, that's why you have to read the legend on the bottom of every graph where it says all that. I mean, that's it.
But when people don't do that when they run with headlines and say it's the 18th best-selling game of the year.
Yeah, with a series of caveats. It doesn't include expansions. It doesn't include micro transactions. It doesn't include all these other things. Yeah, I thought everyone knows that because it says at the bottom of every chart, doesn't include Nintendo digital sales. MLB The Show doesn't include Xbox digital sales.
I'm not arguing with you on this. I'm just saying, like, it's leaves room for manipulating what place the game really is. Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. It's the numbers are ordered based on the data as they're saying it. If they were hiding that they weren't using the Nintendo numbers, then that would be a different story. But they're telling you what numbers are included and what weren't. For instance, when Ubisoft went away, they said that Ubisoft went away, so Assassin's Creed disappeared off the chart. It didn't go from number 3 to off the chart. It just disappeared because they weren't tracking the numbers anymore. Conversely, when they get new data, they go backwards and update it. So when Ubisoft inevitably comes back, probably after everything settles down with their new publishing arrangements, they'll go back and correct the numbers again, and then we'll see how all these games sold. That's what happened with the digital sales. They went from 2010 to 2023 and updated all the charts once they had access to the old digital sales.
And changed the place of where things were, right?
Right, to make them more accurate.
Right.
Instead of saying like these are physical charts, now it's like these are complete charts. And that's the big thing that
goes back to my whole point of like why I feel like Circana is not something that we should be championing as, oh, look, it is doing great. Because it's like, well, is it though? Like just because a bunch of caveats, all these other things, and to portray it the best way with words that are used to put the image into focus the most perfect way you can, say, because of all these things we said, the game is a success. It's like, well, I mean, I guess you could do that with a lot of things. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say. But I also think that that's like other people's positioning. Sony hasn't said anything about the game, which is not a huge surprise because they don't say anything about anything anymore.
Concern you? Like, not
really. They didn't say anything about Helldivers numbers for 3 months.
But they did say something about Tsushima fairly quickly after it launched.
Right. 5 years ago. Their whole strategy is different now. Everyone knows that because they don't talk anymore. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but like I'm not surprised by that. Helldivers was the biggest best-selling new IP that they ever made, and they didn't say anything about it for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and I think that so they didn't announce numbers, I think, until 12 million units. I'm not saying Tsushima or Yotei is never going to reach 12 million units, probably. But I don't think it's that far off of the historical. I went and looked actually for Tsushima's numbers. It's like after 3 days, 2.4 million. That's definitely ahead of where Yotei was. I would say Yotei was probably 1.5 million or something after, maybe 1.4 million after 3 days. And then they reported after 5 months. So 5 months later, so this is in November because the game came out in June, 5 million units. Yotei is about half off of that number now. Right. And it's also, and 5 months from its launch is going to allow it to absorb the Christmas season and all the rest. So they're probably going to be pretty stacked. Also, there were probably 20 something million more PS4s in the wild. The game was $10 cheaper.
Yep.
And that's why I was surprised you were. I'm not a Matt Piscatella fan. In fact, like he doesn't like me at all. He's blocked me and like he doesn't talk to me. I'm just surprised that you. I'm surprised that you weren't. That you were so skeptical of what he was saying about these different things. Like the numbers are not bad. I don't know what people expect out of this. Will Sucker Punch have layoffs and do all these things? I don't know, but it's not going to have to do with the performance of this game. They've made their money back. They're making profit on it already. So now every copy of the game sold is going to make them more profit. Whether they're happy with it or not is obviously going to be a different story. But the reason I wanted to come on and talk to you was just to kind of assure you that like there is no better set of numbers. If you don't trust these numbers, that's fine. That's an accusation that requires incredible amounts of evidence because it's like what everyone relies on. Like all the publishers play nice on Circana because they're all also subscribing to Circana and getting everyone else's numbers. So it's just common sense. I just needed to throw that out there. There's really nothing else to say about it. We can talk about wokeness and all these other things. I don't care. But like, as far as this is concerned, like that is the way it is. You can keep saying like they don't show the numbers over and over again. They haven't shown the numbers since 1995.
Well, let me back it up a little. I mean, that's a loaded statement of a lot of things you said. Let me back it up to the point where you said, I don't know why you don't just believe Piscatella, like he's the gold standard and all these things. This is why I don't believe him. And I made this post earlier today. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I said Matt Piscatella, fellas peddling Ghost of Yōtei's great line was the very same dude that was pushing Star Wars Outlaws was a success line. The very same dude that peddled Assassin's Creed Shadows has been the best-selling video game line. And let's not forget the very same dude pushing the classic Dragon Age, were Dragon Age the Veilguard's PC volume included, it would have placed higher on the best-selling titles chart, perhaps as high as third overall, and he called that launch good. So, I mean, all of these turned out to be incorrect in the grand scheme as far as, I mean, would you unless you'd argue that with me.
No, I would argue with that with you. Our Assassin's Creed Shadows is one of the best-selling games of the year.
Would you say that Ubisoft considers it a success?
They said on their own financials that it's in line with their expectations, and they have a fiduciary obligation to be honest in those things. They won't once they go private. But
I thought they said it fell short of expectations.
No, I hadn't. That's not what they said. I mean, I have. Okay. I mean, unless I misread the quote. It said it's in line with expectations. Okay. They never released. I mean,
I thought they said Star Wars Outlaws was in line. I thought they said Assassin's
No, in fact, I would imagine Star Wars Outlaws really suffered because they have to pay licensing costs. You're also ignoring the fact that like when Yotei doesn't have to. I don't know what Ubisoft's particular cut is. They probably have a better cut than 70-30 because they're a larger publisher. But assuming it's a 70-30 cut or a 75% cut, Yotei doesn't suffer from those. They get all of the money. So I think you're kind of illustrating the reason why Ubisoft removed their numbers, because you can't really win. It goes back to the whole Square Enix thing with Final Fantasy 16, where they sold 3 million copies on like 42 million PS5s in a few days, and everyone looked at that. They looked at that internally as a failure as well. There's it really is about a matter of like if you have a conspiratorial mind towards this or not. I don't. Really you
conspiracy. Do. I'm just I want transparency. I mean, like, why would Japan publish transparent weekly and monthly sales charts, but the US is relying on private firms that gatekeep the data behind paywalls, and people have to run defense for them and say, trust them, it's good. This is the best we got. They're the gold standard. It's like, why do we need that?
Because the other public data sets are not complete, so that we'll never have numbers from those territories.
But why is Japan transparent and we are not? Do you have any like issues with that, or can you explain why it's different?
No, I can't remember that. It's like Media Create or something like that is the company that does it in Japan, and it's a retail only environment that's existed since the late 80s. Those numbers go back even further than NPD's numbers. I have no problem with these numbers existing or being transparent. What I'm telling you is that I would love a situation where Circana numbers or Circana type numbers were public. It's just that that's the product that they're selling. The numbers don't come for free. You know, they're in the same family as Nielsen and Bookscan and all these kinds of things. These numbers are all hidden. They share them by a. I mean, it's just obvious that
would you agree that it benefits the customers and gamers and investors even and developers, like literally everyone, to have actual numbers?
It does. It does benefit. It does benefit the investors. That's why they subscribe to Circana. They see the numbers.
Right, but I'm just maybe I'm not explaining this properly. Wouldn't it benefit everyone to be transparent? The only reason why you would not be transparent is to be able to play with the numbers, to manipulate it. Would you agree with that?
No, because Circana's entire business since the 60s, again, as the NPD group, they just recently became Circana.
I'm not talking about Circana. I guess. Sorry, I moved on from that. Sony, Nintendo, like everything. Why is it private? Why is it a secret?
Because it's business craft. It's like you don't want to share those numbers. They'll definitely say
they do.
They will. Yotei numbers, I don't want to say I know for sure, but I imagine they'll be in the next financial statement, and they're probably holding on to those numbers until then, similar to Helldivers too, because their strategy is different now. They're not. Yeah.
Do you think it's healthy for the industry when like people in the know, people that have access media or whatever have anonymous published data instead of official figures? Do you think that's a healthy industry? I don't think like situations like this, like what brings us together tonight, where we're debating something where it's like, well, if we just had the information, none of this would be a problem.
I guess I just don't gauge the health of the industry based on the transparency of sales numbers. Like
But I feel like that's what your whole argument is, though.
No, my whole argument is that the most reliable data we have on software sales comes from Circana, that it shows that Ghost of Yōtei has done well. And that tells
me that you don't care, though. You're like, I don't care about the sales numbers.
I mean, I care about them academically, but I don't look at what you're asking me. Is it like a dark force around the industry? And I'm saying, no, I don't give a shit if we know the numbers or not. I care as an analyst, but it has no bearing on anything else. No, most people don't give a shit about any of this.
Okay.
So no, I don't think so. The numbers are proprietary because you don't want to share all of your data with. I mean, Sony has long hidden their numbers. When the Vita was failing, they folded the numbers in the PSP and called them handhelds. People hide their numbers all the time. I do agree.
And you know why they do that? You'd agree with that too.
Yeah, what I was going to say was knowing their new strategy where they don't say anything. So like Helldivers is the canary in the coal mine because they should have and could have said something way sooner than they did, but they didn't. And that game has sold way more copies than almost anything else that they've released this generation, probably except for Spider-Man 2. And,
yeah, but that's a little bit different too, because I mean, anyone was playing Helldivers. So I mean, it wasn't like that big of a shock that it was a roaring success.
Yeah, I guess I feel like we're talking past each other. I want this. I would love a transparent situation. That would be awesome. It would be super cool, as I said earlier, if people even started leaking the numbers. We always loved that. Back on NeoGAF back in the day, people would leak the numbers. That's why I was saying earlier that NPD started putting fake numbers out in some people's charts to try to track the people down. That's how serious it is, because you're breaching the contract you have with them when you share the numbers. That's why people don't share them, because they're afraid that it's like sharing a screenshot and there's like some secret watermark in it. You might be accidentally sharing a number that accidentally points to your exact account because it's a little bit different, because they started doing that during the retail era. So that's why the numbers aren't shared.
I feel like that's what we keep getting back to. And maybe if it's a circular argument right now, maybe we can move on from it. But I just feel like right now we're kind of normalizing opacity, and the industry that is being built on consumer spending is allergic to being accountable to the very consumers that they're selling the products to. And I feel like that is a massive disconnect that does not exist in all regions, but it exists here. And all we have to go by is various analysts, not just Piscatella and Circana. There's various analysts that also do this. You say he's the gold standard. That's your preference. That's your opinion, which is fine. But I don't necessarily agree with you on that.
I think that if you don't, it's totally fine if you don't believe the numbers. I think you have to present evidences to why the numbers don't count and why everyone in the industry believes them.
I just did. I thought we went through all the screenshots of how he's done this in the past before.
Yeah, because you used Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is Dragon
Age Veilguard.
Dragon Age Veilguard did sell really well in the beginning. It tailed off, and we don't know what the expectations were for the game. It did sell. It sold several million copies, didn't it? So it didn't sell like 2 million copies.
I don't think, not in the first few weeks. No, maybe it got there eventually.
Like,
It was
I don't give a shit about Dragon Age. I don't play Dragon Age games. What I'm saying is that like,
no,
this is the reason. Like what
he said was incorrect about it. It doesn't matter if you played it or not. My point is, this is why
it's not incorrect. You're looking at they're not lying about the numbers. You don't understand what I'm sorry, dude. You really don't know what you're talking about. Like, you really don't. Like, everything rides on their long-term reliability. That's why they went back and fixed the numbers when they didn't have digital access, for instance. Like, games.
But I feel like by presenting information that's a partial picture with a whole bunch of stipulations attached to it, it paints a very fake image of reality that people run with to try to get a W. And it's like, well, that's
the W? What, like, I guess I'm curious, like, what is Circana's W by presenting their clients with bad data? Go ahead.
Have you seen the internet? What everyone's running with right now? How they're trying to get owns on everyone? Oh, look.
Do you understand that Circana's data doesn't exist for the internet, that it exists for the paying clients that rely on its reliability?
Then why does Matt even tweet anything out?
Because I just said this earlier, because they tease the numbers so that you subscribe to get the actual data. That's why they do it. That's why they've done it forever. And in fact, back in the PS3 era, they stopped even doing that, and everyone got mad. So they started releasing them again. That's why. Like, this is a frustrating conversation, because you say you worked at SOE. Like, how do you not understand this shit? It's like, it's crazy to me. No offense. It's like, how do you not understand?
I understand. I don't agree with it, is my point. I feel like it needs to be more transparent, and I don't agree with the methods. I feel like it's very disingenuous. It paints a false image, and you're saying it's fine, bro. This is how it works. Maybe that's where the disconnect is. As I'm saying,
that is how it works. You have to find someone you have to find a new entity that can go to all the retailers and publishers and console manufacturers, get access to all of their numbers, and then give them to you for free. That's what you're gonna have to find. In the meantime, there's a company that scrapes all that data and charges for it. I'm not protecting that's just the way it goes. That's the way it always been. There is no territory in the entire world that shows their numbers transparently. There's none. Japan and Europe show retail numbers.
Right.
And they're not transparent numbers. Most people buy their games digitally. Those numbers are widely useless.
I mean, again, this is your opinion that you're stating as fact. You're saying most people buy it digitally. These are useless. Like, that's not a factual thing. That's your opinion. I'm saying this is a factual thing we're looking at here. Something that's not lied, not this is tangible. It's an actual graph showcasing sales in Japan. And oh, by the way, if
it shows retail sales in Japan.
Right. Sorry. Retail sales in Japan.
Do you not understand that that's a huge caveat?
That's a
huge caveat.
Yeah,
huge.
But they also sell for Tsushima digitally too. It's not just digital.
Right. So you're just showing retail. You're showing a decline in retail sales for over the last 5 years. That's
no. I guess we could show another chart showing other sales of other games that line up with Tsushima. But now we're kind of moving the goalposts. I thought a good argument was based off of the direct competition of its predecessor, because most sequels, I think you've been in the industry long enough, companies expect a sequel to far exceed and outperform the original.
That's not necessarily true. I don't know where that comes from.
Okay,
that doesn't even make any sense. Does it? I mean, does that really make any sense when you think about it?
At least as many as the first one, I guess you could say.
I think that it probably will sell close to the first one when all is said and done. 5 million after 5 months.
Do you think that was what they set out for? Was their goal?
Considering Nate Fox said the game cost the same amount of money or around the same amount of money that they developed the original one in, probably. They made $400 million on the original game.
That one is very vague too, because they say they don't give actual information. So what does about the same even mean? 1 million away, 10 million more, 100? Like, what is? Oh, it was almost, what was the quote? It was close to how much the original budget was.
I think he said surprising. I had it here in my notes. Very, very similar.
Very similar. So
assume it's even 1.5x more. Mm-hmm. That brings it to 90 million.
Mm-hmm.
I assume the marketing spend is another 0.5x more.
There we go.
Sony has made all of that money back plus another $50 or so million, and now every single game that they sell is pure profit.
Correct. So if we're saying we'll say, just for numbers use, we'll say it's 100 million for the budget. So you're saying right now that it's at 1.6 million they've sold. That's at 80 million. They need to sell, we'll say, another 900,000 or so to get to 40 million more, and that would be a 20 million profit in a year or so of selling this game. By the way, I want to be clear. I never said this game is not going to turn a profit. I just said it's going to fail when compared to Tsushima and what could have been. That's always been my argument.
My theory about this is that you guys don't like the game because it has a female protagonist, and you don't like one of the chicks that worked at the studio that said really stupid shit. Nate Fox fired her. So I don't know what else you wanted him to do. And that you're actively rooting against it. Like you actively root against all these other games for amorphous reasons of it being quote unquote woke.
You say you guys.
Yeah.
I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself, which is all I'm going to do here. For me personally, this was the turning point for me. When I saw this, I'm like, yep, I'm out. That's me personally. And I think for a studio to even consider hiring an activist as their lead protagonist for a game, that is a very dangerous road to go down, because then you end up in a situation where there are potentially multiple people like me that see something like this and say, I don't want to support that. This person actively hates me and what I stand for. Why would I support a game and put money in the pocket of someone like that?
I think that's great that you feel that way. It doesn't mean that like it had a wide-ranging effect on the. I think that, well, because you're projecting everything about the game based on Sucker Punch's casting decision and the behavior of one of the people at the studio. There are plenty of people at Sucker Punch that don't like me at all. I know a lot of people there. There are plenty of people there that don't like me at all. I have to separate.
Do you want to support people that do not like you actively?
Dude, I'm a conservative in the video game industry.
Mm-hmm.
That's not much of a choice if you want to play games. It's the creative industry. That's just the reality of the situation.
I would disagree with that. I think the only way to enact change in the industry is to speak with your wallet.
Yeah, I agree. Speak with your wallet, but don't project onto you. It's obvious, dude. You guys are you're so wrapped up in this culture war over this game, and can't back up and see the forest for the trees. I'm sure you guys and not only you guys, but other people that were offended by it, cost the game, I don't know, tens of thousands of copies sold. Certainly it would have sold more copies and did more if the casting was different.
But you're saying you guys caused it to not sell. But what about the people that we didn't cause to not sell, but people just that don't watch YouTube that saw this and were like, why did they put a female protagonist into this game? I don't want to play that.
What's the big deal about that?
The game was based off of Jin Sakai, a story with a male lead protagonist in feudal Japan that people fell in love with. Why would Sucker Punch change it to what many people would say the narrative, and especially during the peak era of, I guess you could say, wokeness or whatever you want to call it, during the pandemic?
Did you play Ghost of Tsushima?
I did. One of my favorite games of all time. Love it.
How the fuck would they continue the game?
Jin Sakai becoming the ghost, go to the mainland, open world, would have been amazing.
So you wanted a direct sequel to the ghost story that was wrapped up, especially with Iki Island and all that stuff, as opposed to jumping forward?
Yes. I did. And I know a lot of people that did.
I don't know. I really don't know how the story would continue from there. The story is over. He's wanted. Oh, I don't even want to spoil.
Writers write stories. They create the story. I could give you the same pushback saying, I don't know how you'd write a story 100 years in the future throwing a chick in there. Like what kind of argument is that?
I want to go back to the chick thing. Like, what is the problem with it being a woman? Because it's a fantasy. It's not supposed to be historically accurate.
Let's go back even further than that. Why did they need to put a girl into it?
I don't know. I guess it was a creative decision. I don't mind one way or the other.
That's the problem I have with it. I disagree with that creative decision. And I was like, you know what? I still might be open to it. Because maybe the game doesn't go overboard in any direction. But as soon as I saw this post from her, I was out. But that's just me, though. I don't speak
right. That's just you and select number of other people. That's great. No one's saying you can't feel or don't feel a certain way about it. I think what a lot of people are confused about, and what I'm certainly confused about, is the hate and this energy that you guys put towards disliking everything. It comes off to me as touristy. If I'm being perfectly honest with you.
Just because I don't like what you like doesn't mean anything. I loved Expedition 33. Is one of the best games I've ever played. I fell in love with that game. It was amazing. I just finished Silksong, one of the best games I've ever played.
What does that have to do with Ghost of Yōtei?
What does it have to do with saying you hate everything? I'm like, no, I don't. I just gave you examples of games I love.
But why is your YouTube channel covered in all the things you hate then?
It's covered in things that are interesting to me. There's things that I hate, things that I like, things that are something curious to talk about. That's my YouTube channel. That's always been my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It comes off.
The interesting thing about how this all seems to work is people that don't understand who someone else is, oftentimes they just hear the negative stuff and then they get a perception of, oh, that's all that guy is, because they don't actually research and find out, oh, actually, he's multifaceted and talks about a lot of different things. And I found him because of something he hated, but he actually talks about things that he loves too.
I looked at your YouTube channel. It was all, I mean, I'm sure there's things on there, but it was all just the same shit. It's not really about, it's really not about, like, I would love to see, do you do like deep dives into games and like play games with people and like talk about the games you play? I do. Or is it about everything that you hate and like the next woke thing and the woman or the, didn't you like, or when you called, like, didn't you call Tales of Kenzera Zao woke because it had black people in it?
No, I feel like Tales of Kenzera Zao got caught up in the crossfire of a situation. I actually feel bad for Abu Bakr Salim. Good dude.
Well, if you feel bad for people like that, you should think twice about kind of some of the energies you're putting into the ether in the industry.
No, I think it's important. That's why we're here, is to find out information, to give the information to people and to get it accurate.
Yeah, to get it accurate. And that's why I wanted to come on to let you know, everyone in the industry knows that the gold standard of numbers is Circana. Doesn't mean, and yeah, everyone knows that. Everyone subscribes to it.
Did you buy Tales of Kenzera Zao? Or was it you bought it like with money? Or was it
I don't get anything for free, dude. Okay. I buy all of my games.
You bought it?
Yeah.
And you played it?
I platinumed it.
Okay.
I don't get anything. That was the other thing I really liked about it, was when you made a video about me and you used the thumbnail with the shill in it. You're calling the person who doesn't get anything for free from anyone, who accepts no free games, no early access, no travel, no preview events,
listen to how you talk about
no
stuff.
Anything, and then saying I'm a shill, but you like for what?
Listen to how you talk about Circana and defend it.
So if something is objectively true and one defends it, they're a shill for it.
I don't believe that Circana is objectively true. That we talked, again, circular argument here. We talked about how they obfuscate numbers, misdirect, and make it seem like something's better than it is. And then far afterwards, go back and correct it with, oh, actually, it was way further down than it was because now we have all these other ones that were above it.
Again, I'm going to say that would only be a point if they were dishonest with the data at the time, but they were letting everyone know they only had X data. So this is the data that we're presenting. You're arguing, you're literally arguing against actual data being dragged from
the 18th best-selling game. I don't see any asterisks here. I don't see you telling people that. You just, I mean, by your own definition, this is misinformation.
So you want me to have an asterisk in it and it says Ghost of Yōtei is the 18th best-selling game in the US. When not counting Nintendo digital games, expansions, DLC, microtransactions, and non-major PC storefront. Like, that's the asterisk we have to put in there. If you just look at the data, it says all that anyway.
That's what, I mean, to my point, that's why I can't trust Circana, because there's too many things that go into it to use that as the gold standard.
I don't know, dude. I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's like you don't want to hear like what I'm saying. It's just, it is what it is. You can believe what you're not. What I was trying to say earlier to you, and you interrupted me, which is fine because I think we have a little bit of a latent connection. I'm not offended by it. Was that like part of the fun of getting the Circana numbers or the MPD numbers back in the day was trying to plug in the things you did know to try to figure out what you could figure out from the charts. And we already did that. We have numbers for Sonic Racing. We have numbers for Metal Gear Solid. We have numbers for other things, Silent Hill. You can put the numbers in there and figure it out. It's just like, it just seems like you want to disbelieve. And I'm just telling you, not everything is a conspiracy. Not everyone's out to get you. There's literally nothing. There's nothing in it for them to misrepresent the data, because if the data is wrong, then they don't have jobs anymore. If the data is wrong, no one will trust them. Don't you understand that? If they are lying about the data and that is found out, that is such a major controversy in the games industry and would be a huge problem. It would swallow that company up. But the exact opposite is true, that they have to be incredibly accurate to have a business that's going for so long. It's the beginning and the end of it. You cannot trust it and not believe it, but it's true. So spreading, FUD about it is kind of lame because there's so many other things to attack. It's the same thing with the wokeness argument about, oh, this is woke and that's woke. It's like you're missing the forest for the trees, like to attack and like really rally around certain things that make more sense than everything. Everything can't be a problem.
Let me ask you this, and I guess because we're kind of been going for a little bit here. This is kind of towards the end of my questions I had for it, and again, thank you for this conversation. I think it's been very beneficial for everyone. I just saw this before the stream started. This is from Matt Piscatella on Blue Sky. This is the man we're supposed to trust with facts. He says, "Never ever let facts get in the way of believing what you wish were true."
Yeah.
If you believe you can fly, you go ahead and touch the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the guy that you want us to.
You realize it's sarcasm making fun of the people about Ghost of Yōtei, right?
No, I don't care.
You understand that that's what he's doing, is making fun of the people that are making fun of it.
When I read this is supposed to be the gold standard, and this guy says, "Don't let facts get in the way of believing what you wish for true."
He's making fun of you, dude. He's making fun of you. Do you not? Holy shit! Do you not understand that he's making fun of you?
I understand what he's trying to do. This is a self-tell. This is a self-report to me. That's how I read it.
God bless you, dude.
Thank you.
Like I think you're an interesting cat. I will say this. I don't know all the details about your situation with Alyssa or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a freedom of speech guy and a freedom of expression guy. People talk shit about me, clip my videos, do all that kind of stuff all the time. I never go after anyone. I don't know the specific details of your situation. It has nothing to do with any of those things. I think people are really hard on you for a lot of other things. This is the specific problem I have, is nothing to do with any of the other controversies that you have. It's specifically about things that I know are true that we shouldn't even be arguing about, because there are so many other things that could be argued about. And instead, everything becomes a point of conflict. And it's bad. It's bad for the industry. It's bad for gamers. It's bad for everything. And I feel like you guys, and again, I say you guys, people like you thrive on this sort of energy. It's always content about other people, other people's opinions, random amorphous things, but never about the games. Never about playing the games, never about enjoying the games, never about streaming the games, doing content about spoiler casts and review discussions, anything like that. It's never about the games. And my suspicion is it's never about the games because that's not where the traffic is for you guys. So I think that actually the people that have a lot riding on keeping this sort of facade going are content creators like yourself. That's why I wanted to come on, because this specific thing that you're talking about is not true. Your audience can believe it or not. I have to look at the chat later and see what they've had to say, but it is what it is, right? Like,
yeah, I just want to
dispute VG charts data, or you want to dispute Alinea data or whatever. That's different, but you're disputing data from the horse's mouth.
That's fine. No sense. I just don't want to interrupt you. You're on a good one there. I just want to focus on like a lot of what you said. Like, I stream games almost every single night. I talk about games every single time I stream. I talk about what I love about them. I talk about what I hate about them. Everything you just said seemed like a tremendous amount of guesswork and hypothesis about someone you know nothing about. And I don't understand why you would do that, because it makes you look really foolish.
Last videos, breaking, massive layoffs at Ubisoft. Yotei, next video, Yotei flops. Next video, the gamers woke revolution crashes. The next gamer, Microsoft has no clue what gamers want. The next one, man wins women's only Fortnite tournament. The next one, now they're saying Twitch CEO Dan Clancy did nothing wrong. The next one, TwitchCon streamers PC infected by massive virus. Like, where is the game? I'm not seeing anything here. There's no, like, I'm scrolling through your shit. Like, I see nothing about any games. There's nothing about a single, there's nothing about I'm calling you out here. There's nothing about a single fucking game on here that you've played. Like, where is the content about
I'm also calling you out. Maybe you should watch them to find out, because I mean, we both live in this world. You understand how you title videos to get people to get in there and watch what you want to talk about, right?
No, we title all the Sacred Symbols episodes after random song titles. So no, we don't do clickbait, actually.
Okay, well, I wouldn't argue it's clickbait. I would say it's a way to get people interested in a topic that you're going to be talking about. It's applicable. It's not lying about what the topic is, but it's probably the most interesting part of the story in the video that I want to highlight. But I talk about many things in the videos.
What I think is true is that you wouldn't be able to do what you do if you actually talked about the games.
Again, where are you getting that from?
Looking at all of your videos.
Okay,
Like all the titles of your video is like so I just want to understand is within the confines of the video titled Asmongold destroys Sony Pony fanboy, is there like a deep analysis of Chronos the New Dawn in there that I'm missing? How about is there behind the video the title Lunar Gate Returns, the extreme right? Is there some sort of real deep dive into like what Xbox's strategy is?
Probably not in that video, but Colin, you have to understand, I publish 4 to 6 videos a day. So sometimes you'll find a video that I post that does apply to what you're interested in. That's the beauty of all this.
I'm like a month back now, and I don't see anything on here about any games.
I'm not going at you for what you talk about. It's very strange that
because I talk about video games. I don't talk about other people and other people's content.
I do too. I'm just making the smart decision of not talking about it because I don't know enough about what you talk about to even go down that road. You're doing that with me, and you're making a fool of yourself right now.
No, I'm not. I'm reading the titles of your own videos.
You absolutely are, because people that watch me know that you're making a fool of yourself. If you read the chat, they would be destroying you right now. I'm seeing it. Like
Wizards of the Coast joins extremely controversial trans strategy. Within the video, after you click on it, what you'll find is an expose about BioShock. It's just that you're hiding it behind things that really want to click upon.
That's probably in the BioShock videos that I cover. See, that would make no sense. That would actually be clickbait, what you just described right there. But anyways, this is kind of circular. Anything else before we wrap it up?
No. You're an interesting character, I'll tell you that.
Well, I really appreciate you joining. I know this wasn't easy for you.
It was easier than you think. But I appreciate your time. Thank you all out there. Good luck with your content. Be well. And I don't know. Keep on doing whatever's going on here. We'll see you next time.
All right, Colin. Have a good one. Thanks again.
Bye.
All right, bye. So that was interesting. I felt like we could have kept talking, but it started devolving into personal attacks. And I'm like, I didn't do this for like a come at me or go at him. It was about Ghost of Yōtei and the sales and Circana. And I think, interestingly enough, at the point of where it started devolving, kind of exposed that he didn't have anything, and he started getting angry at me. I don't know. Now, here's the thing, by the way. I see, obviously, after a thing like this, there's a lot of fanboys of Colin. Obviously, it's a much bigger channel than mine. But all I ask for people to do is to be objective. Ask for more transparency in the industry and realize that there are people actively blocking that from you. And I firmly believe, based off of the conversation I just had with Colin, that he is one of those people that is in the good old boy network, that I want to protect these people because this is the way it works. And it's how we have power. It's how the industry insiders have control. And if they had transparency, these people would realize that they're completely fucking useless because the only thing they have is the information, and they want to protect the information so that they can manipulate it to be able to fool people into thinking a game's doing better than it is, so that you feel like you have the FOMO to go out and buy it so that it increases the sales of it ultimately. But honestly, I don't feel bad about that interaction. I feel pretty good coming out of that. It could have been better. It could have been worse. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think we both got our points across. And it is what it is. That was, at the end of the day, by the way, that was, hate us or love us, whatever side you're on. That was fucking entertaining. that was some good shit.